This program is brought to you by McGill University. Please visit us at www.mcgill.ca.
This is Carl Moore talking management for the Globe and Mail. Today I'm speaking to Sir Richard Branson, the CEO of the Virgin Group. I'll be joined on stage this evening by Chris Lannon, who's a MBA student from Halifax, who's a PhD from UBC, and from Barbara Durley, who's from Toronto, undergraduate, who's the president of the McGill Undergraduate Society.
So Richard, you spoke about the breadth of companies that are within the Virgin Group, and my colleague Mike is wondering, when you're evaluating new opportunities to bring them into the Virgin fold, what are you looking for?
Well, I think there's no point in us going into something unless we can really shake up an industry, make a major difference, unless it's going to enhance the Virgin brand. If there's any danger of it damaging the brand in any way, even if it's going to make us a lot of money, cigarette companies or something like that, we wouldn't do it. And because life's short, we want to enjoy the experience. So, I mean, we're not, very rarely have I actually sat down and thought, can we make a lot of money by going into this industry? Almost all our new ventures have come about from, if you go right back to the beginning, Vietnam War, let's edit a magazine to try to have young people campaigning to stop the war, and let's give young people a voice. The actual business aspect of it, the paying the bills, we had to sort that one out later and hopefully sell enough magazines and learn about the printing and the paper manufacturing, but that wasn't our principal interest. And almost every venture we've gone into, we've seen a gap in the market. I mean, you might get frustrated flying on other people's airlines. Screw it, let's do it. We'll just start. We'll start an airline, and then we try to make sure we can get the bills paid. And actually, I think it's a better way of doing it. If you think, how can I make lots of money? Let's bring the accountants in. We'll work out some business plans. I mean, it's just the wrong way around. I mean, you get one set of accountants will say, yes, you can make lots of money. Another set of accountants with exactly the same input will say, no, you're going to lose lots of money. It's got to be, from your heart, and do something which you're passionate about, which is going to be your hobby, and then it's likely to be successful.
So this might be a bit of an understatement, but you seem to have a slightly higher tolerance for risk than the average person, at least for me anyway. How do you sort of assess that risk when you're looking at these new opportunities?
I think, superficially it looks like we have a higher tolerance for risk. But having said that, one of the most important sort of phrases in my life is protecting the downside. And it should be, one of the most important phrases in any business person's life. So, okay, we made a big, bold move from going from music company into airline business. But I set myself a condition that I could hand that plane back at the end of the first 12 months if people didn't like our business. And so one of the most important negotiations with Boeing was, we have the right to give you that plane back after 12 months. And that meant that I knew that, I could put my toe in the water, I could see whether people liked the airline, but if it didn't work out, it wasn't going to bring everything else crashing down. I'd be able to look my record company bosses in the eye and we'll still be friends because they'd still have jobs. So protecting the downside is critical. And so we'll make bold moves, but we'll also make sure we've got ways out if things go wrong.
So Richard, when you look at hiring and making someone a leader at Virgin, what are you looking for in terms of a leader at the Virgin Group?
A company it consists of one thing, really. I mean, if I buy a plane from Boeing, it'll be exactly the same plane that BA will buy, which will be exactly the same plane that United will buy, and exactly the same plane that Air Canada will buy. So what is a company? A company is the people that are working inside that plane, the people that are working on the ground. They're the people that make up a company. They either make this company exceptional or average. And so if we're looking for somebody to run one of our companies, we want to be sure that they are fantastic motivators of people, that they love people genuinely, that they're looking for the best in people, that they praise people, that they never criticize people, that they treat the junior staff as importantly as their fellow directors, if not more importantly. And I think that's what sets a good company apart from a bad company. Now, you need to give those people the right tools. You need to make sure that all the little details of you're painting a picture. If you're setting up an airline, every single little detail of needs to be right, so that those people who are working for that company can be really proud of that company. But having a leader that really inspires those people is the key.
So why do people? You're a leader, undoubtedly, of 50,000 people. Why do people want to be led by you?
Hopefully, because I've found, perhaps one of the things I can do is I've found people around me who are the kinds of characters that I've just painted the picture of. I mean, who are great motivators of people, and the kinds of companies that we're running, and the kinds of things we're doing. People who work for Virgin, believe in. I mean, in every industry that we're in, we are actually doing something for the consumer that they can be proud of. And when they go back, go out into the pub at nights and they're talking about, I work for Virgin, and people maybe are slightly jealous about the fact they work for Virgin. So it's almost a sort of self-perpetuating good problem.
Thank you. If you were the dean of a business school, what would you want to see on the curriculum?
Yeah, I don't know. I think as much practical experience as people can have, the better. And I think people do learn. I'm dyslexic, so I know that I learn the most from practical experience. So the more one can actually make a school act practically, I think the better. Just a funny story of being dyslexic and building a group of companies. So age 50, we're having a board meeting, and I said something like, "Is that good news or bad news?" And one of the fellow directors said, "Look, Richard, just come outside a minute." And he said, "Look, I don't think you know the difference between net and gross yet." And I said, "Well, yeah, I sort of got away with it for the last 40 years." But so he said, "Look, let me show. Look, here's a bit of paper. Here's the ocean. here's the net in the ocean. The fish are in the net. That's your profit at the end of the year. The net that's caught the fish, and the rest is gross. That's your turnover." Whew, got it. I thought we were doing a lot better than that. I thought it was the other way around. Anyway, sorry.
I've been reading your books, and you talk a lot about fun, and I'm just absolutely seduced by the idea of just having more fun. I think I enjoy myself occasionally in class, but in middle age, you have mortgages, you have all these. This is a question from a G. Vip here from Montreal, one of our alumni, and the thought is that fun. It just seems like we love it, but how do we get more fun? What's your advice for middle age, where we got to work a lot?
I think again, if we're talking about it does come from the top down. I think that, and if it doesn't come from the top down, people from below have got to shake the people at the top. I think if you go to a party and the person who's hosting the party, if they stand in the corner of the room and they're sipping sherry, most likely you're going to have a pretty dull night. You're all going to be doing the same thing all night. If, on the other hand, the host of the party or the chairman of the company, is the first in the swimming pool with his clothes on, you're pretty well guaranteed it's going to be a fun night. And so I think, I think it's important for leaders to, not worry about being seen to let your hair down, not worried about, getting out and getting drunk with your staff, most likely, if you are going to go out with your staff, have a little, notebook in your back pocket, because they'll tell you lots of things, and you need to sort of scribble them down over a drink, because you're never going to remember them the next day. But anyway, that kind of attitude, I think, is important. And I think, companies need to have a lot more flexibility with their people. I mean, if somebody's got a wedding, and Virgin companies are not perfect by any means on this, but if somebody's got a wedding, for God's sake, let them go to the wedding. Don't make a big deal out of it. If somebody's died, let them take a few days off. Just being human with people. And if somebody wants to golf around the world for 2 months, okay, well, maybe on an unpaid basis, let them do it. But that sort of flexibility, I think, is incredibly important, because most of our time we spend at work.